So I keep hearing Zay Frank, at least twice off the top of my head, I can recall him, hearing him, watching him say in interviews that when he was first kicking off his shows like A Show with Zay Frank and The Show with Zay Frank on his YouTube channel, this would have been roughly around like 2006, 2007-ish. He said he was living in radical poverty. You know, they managed to pull it off even though they were living in radical poverty. He said that a couple of times, the term radical poverty. Okay, so first of all, so this is a video I made that I have on the screen, 3 suspects with addresses in Brooklyn in 2008, Zay Frank, Chris Thompson, and Michael Paul Maxwell. So you can see here, I was mapping out their addresses. So it's pretty easy to find addresses assigned to them. You can find this stuff online. And one of the addresses for Zay, particularly for right around the time period of 2006, 2007, is 176 Amity Street in Brooklyn. Let me see if I can find... yeah, you can see it up at the very top, Hosea Jan Frank, 176 Amity Street, Brooklyn. So that's one of the addresses I found assigned to him for that, around that time period. Let's have a look at, well, first let's see if I can find Zay Frank interview. I feel like I don't want to go searching through his interviews for the example. I believe it's in this top video. Zay Frank, are you? No. It's not in this top video. It's in an interview talking about that video, though. We're talking about that TED Talk that he did. He might have said it once in his interview with Katie Couric, and at least one other time. But so go digging through some of his videos, his interviews. This one, The New Audience, I believe he says it in that one. He talks about living in radical poverty. Okay. I think you're full of shit. I'm calling bullshit because, so let's look at 176 Amity Street in Brooklyn. Here we go. Here are some pictures of the inside of 176 Amity Street in Brooklyn. Right now, the current rent is $2,700. So I lived on the Upper West Side with some friends who are going to Columbia University. Actually, right around that time. So right around, actually more like 2005. So within, a year or two, and the rent was kind of on the expensive side, not as bad as it is now, but it was New York City, and Brooklyn is still very much considered to be a part of New York City. The point being is, if you were living in Brooklyn, even if it was back in 2007, you were not living in radical poverty, unless you were literally living in a cardboard box on a street corner. You were not living, you lying dork. I'm trying to get these pictures to scroll. It's not, but, and here, let's look at a little bit of rental history. It doesn't go back to 2007. But I'll bet you, so it goes back to 2014 at least. So that's 7 years later. I'll bet you the rent only went up maybe $1,000 to $1,500. So that's still, he still was paying, he still would have been paying well over $1,000. That's more than what I pay for my rent currently down in Florida. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't afford to live in Brooklyn now. I couldn't afford to live in Brooklyn back in 2007. It was expensive. It's still expensive. It was expensive back then. What the fuck are you talking about, living in radical poverty? You bullshit artist. You really are. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's currently, as of 2014, the rent for this address was $2,300. So shave maybe like $1,000 off that, maybe $1,300. Maybe. It was expensive. You are not living in radical poverty. You're here. You know what's living in radical poverty, Zay? Living in an RV that you don't own, out in the dunes, with no running water or electricity, and only a fire to cook your food with. But that doesn't matter because all you have to eat is a bag of sugar and some cans of cat food. That's radical poverty, Zay. Not living in a ritzy fucking apartment. Look at this shit. Look at it. Here's 176 Amity Street. Maybe it's been remodeled since 2007. I bet you it still looked pretty nice back then, though. Here's where he lived. Oh, looks like you were super impoverished, dude. Oh, buddy. That must have been rough. Going up those flights of stairs. Oh, I know. Yeah, that does suck. You get used to it. Still. Oh, look at that bathroom. I bet that really stunk, huh? Yeah. Oh, dude, that looks bigger than... I had a studio apartment in Chicago, my second year as an art student out there. I think it was like 500 to 600 a month, something like 600 a month. And that would have been about 2004, something like that. I was only there for a year. 2003, 2004-ish. And then I was in New York City for not even a year, better part of a year. Just like bumming around with Columbia University students. And I ran into Chris Thompson on the freaking campus. And I remember thinking, like, God, I can't escape this asshole. I forgot he went to Columbia. I was there hanging out with totally different people. And I ran into him and I was like, oh, God damn it. I thought I was rid of you. You're a bunch of frauds. Okay? You did not live in radical poverty. Boo fucking who. Don't listen to these pieces of trash. Oh my gosh. That looks like a real nice kitchen. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to end this one before I give myself a stroke. So ridiculous. What a bunch of little whiny bitch boys.